Yes. And we are recording. Sweet. Well, what's up, guys? How are you all?
Doing good?
Doing good? We've got
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Yes.
Happy
yes.
Thursday. I almost said Monday. I have no idea why.
Well, you know, when you sit in front of a computer and you edit all the time, you kind of lose track of the days. Am I right? Or is it
Yeah.
just me?
The grind never stops. And so Thursday is a Monday, is a Saturday, whatever.
Indeed.
I feel you. Well, yeah. Well, we've got Dustin Volkema with us and Bryant Cox photography with us, and so we're just gonna hang out and chat for just a little bit and talk a little bit about cosplay photography and the ins and outs of what we do and how you got started and all that good jazz. And so, yeah, it's kind of a formal, informal chat that we're having right now. So
Awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, Dustin, let's start off with you, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you're doing, and yeah, just the 1 to 2 minute version of Dustin.
Yeah. So I am Dustin Volkema. I'm a cosplay photographer, 3D artist, and I pretty much push pixels until I think they look cool, and that's what I've built a career around and currently run a business doing. So, like long story short, that's pretty much it. But yeah, I'm also an educator. I enjoy helping other artists and being a part of their creative journeys. And that's kind of where my new focus is shifting towards, a bit more of the teaching and mentorship and things of that nature. So I've been doing this for, since high school, but professionally for about 14 years now. And it's been a great ride. Yeah.
Nice. You do a little.
Is that good enough? A nutshell? Is that like
no, that's totally fine. That's fine.
I like to talk a lot, so it could be like 30 minutes of just me rambling about,
Oh, I know. Well, I'm the same way, so I'm trying my best to be good here. So, Bryant, what about you, man? Give us the rundown on Bryant. Who is Bryant Cox?
The quick rundown. So I got into photography by accident. Because when I joined the Marine Corps, I was trying to be a graphic artist, and they said, "Hey, Bryant, you're gonna be a photographer." I'm like, "Okay, I guess this is cool, I guess," and fell in love with it. And that was back in 1999. I'm an old dog, so. And then I've actually recently just got into cosplay photography. I guess this is my 3rd year doing it, and it was just one of those moments where I went to a convention. And I was like, why am I not taking photos of these cool people? I love this genre. Why am I not doing this? So just decided to start doing it, and just kind of fell in love with it, and been slowly educating myself on doing the digital composites. Actually took classes from Ryan, and hopefully one day I will start doing the 3D stuff, and even excel my work even more. So that's awesome. basically how I got into it. One thing I love doing is I'm actually a vendor at a lot of Comic-Con. So I set up a photo booth, and I keep my price points to a point where even kids could get cosplay photos done. And that way they get to experience that professional photos and adding superpowers to them. And when they see the final results, they really enjoy it. So
awesome.
Sweet. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to try to see if I can play with this layout for a second to where it will spotlight you whenever you're talking.
No, just leave it. Just leave it.
Just leave it.
Just leave it. We got this. Okay.
We're good. Well, cool. All right. Got to make sure I wasn't muted that time. So, well, cool. Yeah. Well, I like, what you were saying. Not that you learned from me or anything like that, but it's the fact that we all kind of learn from each other, right? Like I've learned from Dustin. Dustin is a Maxon master trainer. Is that the proper title? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a proper. I don't really like titles, but yes, it is. Master trainer. Master trainer.
Master trainer. Cinema 4D. Dun dun dun. But
But
that's what I really like about cosplay community, or at least from my perspective, is that a lot of people tend to really just get along and like to communicate with each other and learn from each other and kind of, just yeah. It's super cool.
Yeah.
and it's really cool because there's a lot of things, I feel like Bryant did a lot better at the intro than I did. In a nutshell. But it's pretty cool because like I'm also a veteran. So I started learning 3D and CGI while I was deployed in 2008. And that, I had time off mission. It was basically like work out and learn 3ds Max. And then it got into Cinema 4D, and I've been in love with that software since. But what I like about what we do is not necessarily just learning from each other, but I pick up so much inspiration from so many people, whether they're at the beginning of their journey or like completely going nuts. Like there are some artists that I look at and I'm like, I have no idea, like you use the same stuff I do, but I have no idea how you get to that point. But I also do vend at Comic-Cons, so I'm a vendor as well. And that's something for me that I think I will probably leave as kind of a side hustle, if you will, like a side passion to like my teaching and mentorship, because I just enjoy it. It's fun. Like you said, Bryant, like being able, especially with kids, holy cow. Like I had a kid, his name was Tyler. And, I got to know a whole lot of this backstory from him, from his mom, actually, after the con. But, I saw him at an event and I was like, hey, something's different about this kid. I need to shoot him. Right. And so I get him in, plan on shooting him for free, do this whole thing. And I work something out with his mom. His birthday was coming up and I was going to do a poster. Right. Just do a movie poster of Mono from Little Nightmares. And, she sends me the videos of this kid, like opening this poster and like seeing it for like, I broke down crying. Like it was literally the epitome of the why we do this thing. And it's super cool because there's so much that we have to learn from other creatives outside of our field. And I feel like for me, cosplay is just like one of those areas where it's almost an honor to be able to like bless, like their cosplays with like super dope imagery. And it's super cool. So, I'm glad that, there's, a lot more, what I would consider of like a professional light being like, pushed onto cosplay photography these days. Because I feel like it was something that was just like, meh, they just take cell phone photos, meh, they just do this thing or whatever. And it's definitely not that way anymore. There's so many awesome photographers and just digital artists as a whole, getting into the cosplay realm. So
and to follow up on that, I think having that knowledge of lighting and being able to take the stuff that we've learned doing other photography and bring it into the cosplay photography realm definitely adds to that value of their images, especially when we start doing those composites and we add those lights that we want to reflect in those composites. If you add that light naturally, then it looks more realistic than digitally adding that color or doing that when you actually do it for the reels and then like, oh, now that looks better. So and to give it to them. So
100%. Like there is so much that goes into. So it's, like people ask me how I got into photography. I was into like CGI first. So I was in Photoshop for a long time. I was in 3D for quite a while. I was actually working on like mixtape covers and, album art, things of that nature. And I got tired, like that was more in like the local hip hop scene. So I got tired of people sending me like cell phone photos. So I borrowed a buddy's like 8 megapixel Olympus camera. And I mean, I'm talking like it's it was a whole different world. Like I didn't even know that RAW like was a thing. So I'm shooting in JPEG and it's like, whatever it is, it's better than freaking cell phone, especially at the time. Now like we can do some awesome stuff. But yeah, I went out and I got like a cheap like Amazon special. They were like a cowboy studio, I think it was, like green screen backdrop with 2 lights. And I rocked that for years in JPEG. And then I learned about RAW and it was like, like
Yeah.
I'm talking like
Yeah.
automatic
Raw
mode shooting
video.
in, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
shooting like automatic mode, JPEG. Like it was super crazy. And it was like, oh, I'll just put this light here and this thing, and then started getting into it. And then that led down a whole rabbit hole of photography over the years. And for me, cosplay specifically came about. Geez, man, I graduated. I went to Full Sail University with a plan on getting into like motion picture, visual effects compositing, and I had one child at the time. And then by the time I graduated, I had two. And I was like, I don't really want to live the contractor life. That's like out, for 10 months working on a film and this and that. And so things changed a little bit. And cosplay for me was like the next best thing. I'm like, I just build visual effects and photography and we'll crush it. And so it was super fun. Yeah, it's a little bit. So next question, Ryan.
Dude, no, I can listen to you talk all day, man. I mean, I have before, so it's all good. Well, Dustin is a wealth of knowledge, right? Like he's a wealth of knowledge, and plus he just has like a milky smooth voice. Like I could just listen to his voice. He's just hey. He's a cool dude. But yeah, man. Oh yeah, I just realized I haven't really talked much about myself. I don't really have to, but I guess for the sake of the video, I probably should. Ryan Sims. I initially first got involved in senior photography. So actually, no, that's a lie. Let me back up. I got started. My first photography job ever was working at Portrait Innovations, like the $9.99 special that they rope you in with, and then they put a upsell you for like $250 or $300 or whatever.
Don't feel bad. I worked at Glamour Shots before.
Yeah. And so Portrait Innovations, photographing little babies and families, and after getting an earful of of that, because you dealt with some pretty irate customers every now and then. I was like, I'm never doing photography again. I'm never doing it again. It's off the table. I'm not doing it again. And somehow several years later, I ended up working for a senior photography company, which was really, really fun because it's where I got to learn like camera settings and lighting. It's where I first got exposed to Paul C. Buff gear, which now I'm an ambassador for. So I'm like super happy about that because I love working with them. But yeah, I started to kind of get my feet wet with the whole senior photography thing. And senior photography is great, right? Because you have all kinds of different things you can photograph. You have football players, you have cheerleaders, but you have people who do cosplay, and you have people who do everything. So it's like just like a wide variety of different people. And so that kind of got me into a lot of different. I mean, there's just some crazy stories, man. Like I photographed someone who had like a 100-pound, 18-foot long python that they wanted to be photographed with, that they somehow got permission from the zoo to bring. I don't know how, but it happened. I have proof. I have a picture of me holding the python. Someone brought their pet cow. You can, have a cow as a pet, I guess. I'm like, does it stay in the house? Like my first instinct is to think of like Mose from The Office, Dwight and Mo, and like how they're walking in the house and there's like a pile of manure in the house. And I'm just like, is that how that works? I don't know. But anyway, I say all that to say is I got my start doing senior photography. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I really kind of want to go out and do my own thing. What do I want to do? And had a couple in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is like 15 minutes down the road. I contacted them, saw that they did Batman and Wonder Woman, really cool, legit cosplayers. And I was like, hey, let's do a photo shoot. And apparently it turned out really well because I've been doing cosplay ever since. So
Nice.
That's kind of in a nutshell how I got involved in cosplay photography. But man, it's been great. I've always been a nerd. I've always enjoyed comics. My brother and I would, used to have like the notebooks that you would collect of all the different cards and comics and all the different things. And so we've always been huge nerds. All of our phone call conversations pretty much consist of where we think the MCU is going next. And so that's
Yep.
that's our thing. But yeah. So I like a little bit of what you were talking about earlier, talking about some of the stories. It can be a crazy story. It can be a sentimental story, but something that's just really memorable. What's something that's just really cool that you could bless us with as far as stories go?
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm thinking. I like I said, I've only been doing this for 3 years, so I don't know. I haven't really had any this is the greatest story ever. I can tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. You go ahead, take it.
I mean, I say the funniest story actually has to deal with a cosplayer. Foggy Night 14.
Yeah. Jake.
Jake shot with Ryan. Shoot, years ago now, and that's when I was really just first starting getting into it. And then Ryan needed a shoot done for a specific edit, and I guess Jake found me somehow and whatever, and he's like, "Well, I'll just go shoot with Bryant, and he could get the photo." And so we talked about it, and come to find out, we live 10 minutes from each other. So.
Nice.
So Jake's usually gets a new cosplay, and he calls me usually on a Monday, and we're usually shooting by Thursday because we live 10 minutes from each other. So
that's cool.
I mean, I guess that's a blessing to this guy. And he's a really good guy. So, we always, knock something out real quick. And yeah, but I don't really have any cool stories yet because, like I said, just starting to get into it. So, haven't had that awesome, oh, I got to photograph this person or this celebrity because they want to be in the cosplay photo.
So basically what you're saying is that, because of me.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go.
You got a new friend that lives 10 minutes from you.
I know.
Oh,
so funny. Where you at? I'm like, I live in a gated community, Lake Woods. He goes, dude, that's 10 minutes from me, man. So I'm like, there you go.
Cool, man. Dude. Oh, man. Dustin, what you think, man?
So I kind of already talked about one of as far as my customers go.
Sure.
The shot or the shoot that I did with Tyler was super cool. It's probably one of my most memorable, immediately that sticks out as far as customers go. The kid literally lit up the entire booth with energy. It was crazy. It's to go to an event and barely say a word and your eyes and your face just say everything. His energy was enough to ride on for a few years. It was super cool. Early on in, cosplay photography for me, I actually, I did a shoot with my middle child, with my youngest son. He was 4, he's 9 now. So I guess that's a little bit after being completely new. But anyway, did a shoot with him when he was 4 as a little Jedi, and I put R2D2 in the background. We were in the woods and this and that. Super cool little thing. And I was really surprised because for him that really sparked a lot of creativity, and it was oh, why are we these little fake lightsaber and we're in the middle of the woods, and I'm what is dad doing? We watched Star Wars, but he never really got any of it. And for me, it was pretty cool because there were when I posted them on social, it was just on Facebook, no big deal. It got picked up by quite a great audience. And that was kind of the first time I went viral. And it was completely by accident. Literally posted it. I had Parents Magazine contacting me and different stuff. I'm whoa, I don't know what. It was completely accident. At that point, I didn't even have a website up. It was just there. But it was pretty cool to see. Not even necessarily the going viral part. That's pretty cool. Impacting millions of people, seeing your stuff, whatever. That's neat. But what that did for me is really brought an awareness to how cool it could be to actually get into doing this more in a large, segment. And so that's where, for me, it kind of turned, a leaf, and I'm well, let's start looking into vending. like let's start looking into actually getting into like cosplay photography a bit more serious rather than just like, oh, it was cool to do that one shoot, but like make it a thing. And now I barely post on social, and it is what it is. I do it because I love it. But yeah.
That's cool. Well, your Star Wars project actually was hugely influential. Losing my voice there. Your Star Wars project was actually hugely influential for me because I ended up doing this whole like Cal Kestis Fallen Order Jedi project with my son. One, because he's just a huge fan of the game. It's like we sit there and play it all the time. But then of course I saw what you did, and I was just like, oh man, I need to do something like this too. That'd be super sweet. So yeah, thank you for that.
No, I appreciate it, man. Like it's pretty cool. Like Ryan, like you and I, like it's interesting, like how we even began, like just chatting, because it just sort of happened. It was like,
yeah, I don't even remember how it started happening. Like, how did it happen?
I don't know. I think it was just like random messages. I think back and forth, like, hey, your work's dope. Hey, yours is too. Hey, this and that. Da 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 da. It just kind of went back and forth.
Yep.
But like all of that to say, like it's. Like this is, like, and even with Brian, like I had no idea like what your name was until we started doing this chat, and then I'm like, oh, I've seen that dude's stuff on Instagram. Like, I go back and look, and it's really funny because like the community, like you'll recognize somebody's work, and it's like it wasn't until like I really paid attention to even who was like being contacted for this call. It's like, oh, okay, that's Brian. Like, oh geez, like yeah, it totally makes sense now. Like now I know who the like it's kind of like a face to the art, if you will, like in a really weird way.
Well, it helps too because at least in our hashtags, or not hashtags, our Instagram handles, our name is in the handle.
Yeah.
One of the biggest struggles for me is like, oh yeah, by the way, what's your real name? Like, because I only know you by your Instagram name.
Yeah.
And so and that's because that's what everyone sees, And speaking of struggles, yeah, like are there some hard struggles that you've kind of faced like through this whole process, whether it be cosplay related or just like being a photographer, digital artist in general, just like certain struggles that have been, you've had to rise to the occasion for?
I guess my biggest struggle is because when I do my Comic Cons, I basically have different options for them where I have pre-made backdrops to make my life easier, because then all I gotta do is either add special effects and whatnot, and just place them into that backdrop. Is when I do the full composites, is because since I don't have that 3D knowledge, I have to rely a lot on stock imagery and pulling from that and making that work to my effects of how I want it to look. And there's a big challenge sometimes, not being able to manipulate the angles that you want something to see, something to be. That's where I need to educate myself. Well, get a computer that can handle it, the 3D knowledge, so I could create that environment that I want. And then I think that will mitigate those troubles I have of finding that right image that I want to use for what's in my mind, because it's basically taking what's in your mind and putting it on that computer screen after you talked with that cosplayer and discuss what you could do for them, and like, oh shit, sorry, excuse me, I have to deliver now of what I said I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I can make you fly. I can make lightning come out of your hands. I can do that. That's not a problem. And I get home, start working on it. I'm like, oh wait, this might be a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to be. So I guess that's my biggest challenge, is taking a stock image and manipulating it to how I want it to look in that final image. And make it look realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I've been there so much over the past 10 years, which we'll come back to that. But you actually got something that you're working on, right, Dustin, that I'm assuming you can talk about because you're wearing a t-shirt that might make people's lives a little bit easier.
I mean, maybe. Okay, let me stop that real quick. Okay. So yeah, I'm actually I've got a new company in development, CG Hacks. I'm like, oh, pretty cool stuff. Ryan's actually going to be one of our instructors there on the Photoshop side. So CG Hacks is really all about pretty much tools, training, and a really cool support community. And when I say a support community, it's not just like, hey, this is a Facebook group, you post your stuff and it's like.
Yeah.
I really don't care about that. I personally never cared about that. I As much as I love validation, I feel like it's up to an artist to find their own sense of validation and where that sits. But as far as like competency and creative problem solving and just being surrounded by a support group is really important. So at CG Hacks, I love to mentor, I love to educate, and myself, the team, even others in our community are the same way. And so, in our group, we currently run things on Discord, but it's more wrapped around actually getting like constructive feedback. So we're not going to ask your mom like how this looks. She'll say it looks amazing and it's all great and pretty. It's like, hey, let's like start to break this down and maybe provide you with what we think is wrong with an image. It might just be blunt. It's wrong with an image. And then we'll also like mentor you and kind of walk you through how to fix certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And just help build up confidence in artists, whether you're an industry professional, or you're just starting out. It's kind of the same field. It kind of helps everybody like just grow together. Yeah. So aside of that, like one of my biggest hurdles has never really been thinking is like creatively. Like I deal with creative block and stuff like that happens, like that we all deal with that. But I have a lot of like creative tenacity. So like when I started out making money with my artwork, it was over promising and figuring it the heck out. Like I would sit there and become a wizard and say, oh, you want a lightsaber and that's like dripping with some kind of plasma something else that you're standing on the Death Star that's about to explode and all this crazy. And I'm like, you know what, yep, don't even worry, dude, I got you. And then I would spend way too long trying to figure out how to actually execute that. But that side's never really been like my struggle. My struggle has actually been much more with kind of like a mental health side, so like imposter syndrome. Full transparency, whether that's when I've gone to cons or gone to events and didn't charge enough because like I would, especially before I started really nailing down like what my packages were, what the deliverables were, things of that nature, I would overpromise for a really what would for me would be a much lower price than what it should have been. And that's because I didn't really, I could talk about it and say, hey, I'm charging way too little for this, but actually implementing it and feeling confident in doing that, even as a professional, is like can be tough sometimes. And so, it's one of those areas for me that I like to give back to the community, but at the same time, like we have families to feed and we have bills to pay and things of that nature. And so finding a nice balance between the two now, I could probably bump my prices up, but I'm at a point where I feel comfortable charging what I'm charging. And if I want to give back, or really kind of, push that, I'll do a shoot for free. I'll pick up a small project for free. Like this thing I was telling you about earlier with Tyler was just something like I felt out of the goodness of my heart. I'm like, let's do this for this kid. Like he changed like, my life and perspective on things. And it wasn't even until after the event that, I really realized the depth at which he did that. And so I was all in. I'm like, let's do it. We'll do some cool stuff, get all these things going, and that's kind of how I operate now. Like I'll make a conscious choice, to charge what I'm worth. And I can overshoot that if I really feel the need to. But most of the time it's just like, hey, I have mouths to feed. And confidence in doing that is very hard to get sometimes when you're first starting off. really in any field, and even as a professional, like I said, like it gets difficult. So that's probably my biggest hurdle, that I've faced. I mean, I don't really have so much of that now, but definitely a time where that was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's probably has been and to some degree still is probably the biggest struggle that I face. It's just knowing your worth, being able to set your pricing, not overdo it because I mean your mental health is definitely important. I mean, there have been times where I've spent way too much time and energy on a project that I was getting nothing out of, and some of those times it can be great because it's something that you're wanting to do either out of the goodness of your heart or it's for, you know, something. It could either be for, sometimes I'll do things just because I want to learn more, but yeah, if you're over promising as far as deliverables go and underpricing yourself, it can be kind of taxing, on your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
Because I've spent, I'm still working on stuff I shot last year, you know what I mean? And so it's it can be that's yeah, again, I think that's one of the biggest struggles that I've dealt with. And it's been super encouraging being able to work with, you, Dustin, and be able to hear your side of that because you've kind of gone through those struggles. And so you're kind of helping me get through that. And so maybe we can all kind of help each other get through it a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But yeah. Let's see. What other fun questions do we have that we can talk about? Oh man. Yeah. I'm spacing. I'm spacing right now. It's probably because I'm not like usually the host of a show.
Hey, at least me and Ryan will finally get to meet in October.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I've never met Dustin in person before. We just chat
wait.
through here.
Wait. So wait. How are you guys meeting?
We will be at
through Cosplay World. There you go. Cosplay World.
So like, where are you now? Are you working together or are you working independently?
So, well, most likely
little both.
A little bit of both. The idea is we're going to have a dedicated room just for cosplay photography. So it's going to be me, Ryan, Maddie, and Jonathan. So there's four professional photographers that are going to be in this room. I don't know if Jonathan's going to actually have a booth or not. And then we're actually going to have selfie stations also in that room is the idea. So preset backgrounds, but the idea is to have them have the opportunity to get professional photographs from photographers they may never have a chance to work with also. So It's still in the development phase. We're still trying to figure things out. Matter of fact, I just sent an email to all the photographers this morning, like, hey, let's discuss this a little bit. And but it's just a unique thing to do. That's because the basis for this con is to more be focused on cosplayers than just having a convention for geekness. It's more focused for actual cosplayers themselves. So that's why we wanted to dedicate an actual room for cosplay photography. Whether they want to shoot it themselves on a selfie background, basically, or collab with one of us and get some professional photos done. So,
sweet.
Now should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, now I feel left out. I feel like you guys.
Hey, come on down.
No, it's too late now. I didn't even get an invite. We'll see. No, it is actually funny though. I actually had the conversation with my wife the other day. I'm like, man, I was like, her parents live down in Virginia, and I was like, it's really not that far away. Like we could probably,
Yeah.
I don't know.
12,
we'll
13
see.
hours. Yeah.
I mean, if I show up and make a cameo, just
it is. It's
October
1st and 2nd. So
yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, and that's one thing about Virginia is like where I'm at. I'm actually in a pretty good location because I could basically do, if I wanted to, at least 2 cons per month within about a 3-hour driving range for me.
Nice.
So because I got DC, Richmond, Virginia Beach, Maryland.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's my goal for 2023 is to be a vendor at a con at least one a month at least. This month I'm doing 3. So
Wow. See, my brain's like
That's
it's so.
But-
Let's see. I do have a question. Before I gotta head out of here soon. So I do have a question then, Brian. Do you edit your photos yourself, or do you have a team do that?
I do everything myself. So it's just the one man show here.
How do you
but,
have hair? How?
I would call myself, when I do these specific ones for the cons, I'm a somewhat of a speed editor, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Because majority of them buy the pre-made backgrounds at these cons, so I don't have to come up with anything, and I could edit a pre-made background image in 30 minutes because I got the good quality image. I use the pen tool to cut them out, blend them in, add some coloring, make sure it all lines up with coloring, add some foreground effects so it really gets them into that environment, and then done with it. But if they add power effects, then obviously I got to do a little bit more. But I got, as you say, you get a routine and doing certain things. Like I did GalaxyCon Richmond for the first time, which is one of the biggest cons in the area, and the 3-day weekend I photographed 147 cosplayers. So and it ranged, and the editing range though. Some people just got a photo on the gray backdrop, so all I had to do was just a little skin. Not all of them were composites. So
he's like over here talking about 30 minutes. I'm like, I spend a minimum of like 4 hours.
Well, so I have, and the reason why I ask is because I've actually been looking for like retouching teams that can handle
gotcha.
like this type of work, and it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I have my workflow. Like I can crank out, like even what I consider like an epic package. It's like a textured backdrop that's cleaned up and all of this stuff. It's like I can go through quite a few. I think I don't know if it'd be my record is kind of like 290-ish images in a week. And it's just like, but I have it built out. So this comes to, tools and like workflow and process. Like I really do have like, I guess it'd be like 2 sexy buttons. So I have a Stream Deck over here and I've got like 2 sexy buttons. One's like my retouching and it's just like do.
Yep.
And then the other one is like the action that runs everything for like the backdrop cleanup to do these things.
Gotcha.
A little bit of manual work in, but I've got it to where it's like, for just a cleaned backdrop is like 5 minutes of photo and it looks like super retouched, super clean. Composites are a whole different story because I don't like to do
I need the sexy button. I need the sexy button in my life.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about it on YouTube. Retouch for me. Go check it out. And it can be what many consider expensive. I think it's maybe for like the full suite of like their Photoshop plugins.
This right now.
Yeah, it's right like now. I think they're roughly like if you use the discount that shameless plug like I have on YouTube. But it's like $1,200, I think. $1,200 for like the group of these plugins. You build them all up in an action and then press one button and it just goes through. And within about a minute, like you have a really dope retouch photo that gets the job done. And that's the most important part. It's not like manual, like commercial level, like, retouching just from one press of a button, but it gets you well on your way. And especially for what we do, like it's great. So
awesome. That's the thing that you got to find the right tools that help you with your craft. Like I don't even remember how I found Composite Nations Honor It Glow, but oh my god,
oh man,
you add that to the back end of your photo, you're like,
dude, see, Mario's supposed to be in this chat, but
I know he was.
Yeah, Mario, you're missing out. But for those who don't know, check out compositenation.com.
Yes.
Oniric or Honoric, however you want to say it.
I don't even know how you pronounce it, to be honest with you.
Is the like it's like the icing on the cake. And if I'm being completely honest, like I have literally used like a debris brush and then like white on the background, and then just use this plugin to like make everything glow pretty and like shipped it. Like it's very easy to create some
I
awesome
love it. Yeah.
compositions, and yeah, it's great.
D-Summer.
Somewhere.
It's a Mario joke. He would get it if you were here.
Yeah, he would get it.
Yeah. Dude, but yeah, it is so cool, man. I always I normally put it kind of towards the end of my workflow now, to kind of finesse and make everything pretty and beautiful.
It's my last thing I do.
But yeah, man. Goodness gracious. Well, I know that you're gonna have to leave pretty soon, Dustin. We'll wrap it up here in a second. Maybe if we have time, just want to talk about maybe like a past either favorite project, maybe something that you're currently working on, or like future projects that you're really excited about. And if you want to hit all three of those, go for it. But just certain things that stick out in your mind, be like, man, I really enjoyed doing this. And if you have several, pick one. I'll go first. I'll go first. That way, yeah, it'll give you time to think. One of my favorite projects that I got to work on, it actually was not cosplay related, but I got the gig because of cosplay. As one of my favorite music artists, Sam Tenez. He's here in Nashville. I know cosplayers use his song all the time in reels. The I've always liked to play with fire. But anyway, I got a gig because I had posted some Spider-Man image, and he actually saw it. He was like, dude, this is dope. And I'm like, you're Sam Tenez. And so I messaged him because he had made some comment. I was like, yeah, we totally should work together. He's like, well, when are you free? I'm like, are you serious? And so we spawned the conversation. And that's what I love about Instagram, right? Is that, whether it's with cosplay photographers or cosplayers or artists or anybody, you can just strike up such an easy conversation with somebody and things happen. And so I got to do a really cool photo shoot with him for some album stuff that he got to use for his White Doves Warplanes album. And we got to create a lot of really cool imagery that really, again, artists are a whole different ballgame because, artists are artistic, right? They have all these ideas in their head, but they can't get it out. That's why they need you. And so you're trying to help put eyes and put reality on this idea that they've got. And it can either be really frustrating or super cool. And in this instance, it was super cool. So I was really excited that I got to work with him on some of his music projects because of cosplay photography. So I thought that was awesome. Really cool. What about you?
So yeah, I can go first because I'll have to dip out here in a minute. Oh man, so it's interesting. Like as an artist, like I look forward to like the next project. And I know that sounds weird, but it's one of those things for me where I get done with a piece of work and like I'm super critical. And so like I will finish it and I will like, no, like on to the next. So like I've stopped after years of trying. I've stopped like going back to re-edit things or like change things in a photo, and I've gotten like have kind of like moved into much more of like a fail forward like approach with my art, where it's just like, good dude, like, mental note, right? Like don't do that again and do this better and do these things. And kind of like, so all of my critiques and things like that are kind of pushing me to like look forward to my next project. But as far as like things in the future, like all of this, like CG hacks for me is I'm super excited, to launch like for digital artists that are into cosplay photography, that are into, fine art portraits or just general composite photography, album covers, movie posters. Like we've got a super cool set of like overlays where we're actually using like Hollywood VFX workflows to like build out new overlays and like new products that are quite a bit different than what we might be used to working with. I love them. So it's like super exciting because like, you know, like I'm actually using these things, and the team that we have working on this stuff and finishing everything is insane. So for me, I look forward to the new products, the new stuff that we have coming at CG Hacks. And I really look forward to teaching and like mentoring a lot, you know, a lot more than just like doing the art and posting it for the likes, because it's, yeah, it's kind of where my heart's at.
Cool.
I just realized
Projects.
I had to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
Oh no, you're good.
I'm sitting in my car, so I got the background noises. So I'm like, yeah. This is my studio, by the way. I'm just joking. I don't really have any projects coming up. I'm just trying to work on myself and get better things. But one thing I'm trying to do is work with some of these local cons I go to all the time, and try to I'm in the works of talking with them to be a sponsor for their cosplay contest. So to help cosplayers know I'm a photographer and whatnot. So I'm trying to work on a sponsorship for them. So, you know, cosplay contest sponsored by, you know, Brian Cox Photography. So that's one thing I'm working on right now. Another idea I have, which I bought the domain space already, just because I'm like, I got to get it, cosplaystockimages.com. I think it'd be a really cool idea for our community to have a one-stop shop where photographers could actually go in there, upload stuff, make money off it. Because I know, Ryan, you have your own stock stuff where people can buy stuff, but basically build it out so you don't have to go to Adobe Stock. All us creators can put on there and sell their items basically for other photographers and creators to use as to build their cosplay photography. So
that's pretty cool. I mean, like, yeah, because I mean, what if there's some really awesome location on the far side of the world that I'm not going to be able to go to anytime soon, but someone's going to shoot it and upload it to this site? I mean,
so I got the idea.
beneficial.
I just gotta get it going. But you could add superpowers, 3D elements. So I want it to be, you know, like, hey, I want to. Obviously, you can't use like names like Superman because you'll get in trouble by DC. But I want, you know, flying power, laser powers. Anyway, so that's one of my big ideas. I got to start working on and getting going. And the last thing is the funny thing. You're talking about the trickle down effect of doing cosplay photography. I've actually got 2 weddings booked this year that are themed because I've done their cosplay photos.
Nice.
And I'm talking to someone today about doing another one that's going to be a themed wedding. So I'm starting to get themed weddings because I do cosplay photography.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I've gotten to do 2 Star Wars themed, no, 3 Star Wars themed weddings before because of that. And so it'll happen more. It's a crazy thing, right? You do cosplay, you do all this crazy stuff, like, and I say crazy as far as like visual effects and other stuff like that. But then people will contact you and be like, "Hey, can you photograph my baby?" or like, "Can you do this?" Because they assume that if you can do all the crazy stuff, you can do the simple stuff, which really kind of, you know, it kind of works in your favor a little bit if that's something that you're wanting to do. Because I mean, it's a powerful thing. If you can do all this, then you should be able to do all this. And so sometimes that works for you, sometimes it works against you. But I mean, like, it is a cool thing that that happens. So,
oh, that's great. Man, I have to get running, gentlemen.
Dude, I think that's pretty much it. So, I mean, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and just, you know, shooting the bull. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's super awesome to hang with you guys and to chat. It's something I don't feel we do enough. It's actually like get on and have discussions. So yeah, thanks Cosplay Alliance for having us on and you know, being able to chat on your platform. I appreciate it.
Yep.
So
very much.
Awesome.
Very much so.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys, man. Yeah, have a good one.
All right.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah. Bye.